Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and everything above, under, and in between. My name is Cedric. Welcome to Cedric's Library, where we share stories, books, and everything in between. Now, quick disclaimer before we start with this story. I know that there is a channel that already has done character creation and specifically stories for characters in For Honor. Shout out to you, Raven Knight. I love your content. I love your For Honor Legends. Please keep doing more of them. I would love to hear more. And yeah, I know that this is out there. Okay, he's already done this. It's still existing. I want to clarify. I had the idea of writing For Honor characters. Words. Where are they coming from? I had the idea of writing For Honor characters before I found Raven Knight's channel and his For Honor Legends videos. So I'm not trying to copy him. I'm not doing this because I saw it at his channel, which wouldn't be bad, I think. But I'm not trying to copy him. I'm aware that this idea certainly isn't original anymore. But I still hope you like these stories and that you don't end up in my comments screaming at me that Raven Knight's already done this. Stop copying, don't be fraud, something like that. Happened. Already happened? Okay. I'm not trying to be that. I'm trying to present my own stories. I'm trying to give stories to you, and I hope that you guys enjoyed these stories. If you don't, well, nice meeting you. Bye bye. If you do, thank the gods, because, there is a bit of work going into these stories, and yeah, I appreciate it. So now, without further ado, let's jump into the story. Chapter 1: The Freedom to Fight For. Do you hear that, my son? This is the sound of our home, our pride and our honor. Alastair looked around. He was in his small home village, surrounded by green hills, and all around him, in some distance, the mountains of the highlands. He heard a small river flowing down the foot of a mountain. A few birds flew in the sky, and somewhere, far away, there was the sound of a bagpipe. Remember that. It's what makes us free, despite contracts and oaths. He awoke to the singing of a songbird. Blinking several times, he tried to make sense of his surroundings. After a few moments, it came clear to him again. He had encamped at the side of the road to the harbor city of Tremaliga. He had been called in to fight for the highlands on behalf of his clan chief, and following his oath to take up arms whenever his chief tells him to, he had collected his claymore, his leather armor, and began the way. He was on the road for over 2 weeks now, and close to the town. Half a day's travel separated him from his first destination. He had been called to leave the island of the Highlander and fight on the mainland against the organization called Horkos. His chief had sided with the faction of Chimera, and thus tributes his warriors to Griffin's cause. Arriving in a small town, he made his way to the harbor, searching for the longship that was supposed to bring him and other high and lowland warriors to the mainland to fight. A grizzled old warlord welcomed him.
Ah, one more for the battlefield. Welcome, my friend. May the gods guide you to a good life.
placed his hand on Alistair's shoulder with a hard grip. He lowered his voice before speaking again.
May hell put ashes in your mouth, Chimera scum.
He stabbed Alistair below his belt with a knife. The pain made him grunt, but it wasn't enough to make him fall. With a powerful backhand strike, Alistair hit the warlord at the side of his face, sending him crumbling to the ground. All around them, warriors rushed out of hiding spots in buildings, wearing the colors of Orcos. Vikings, knights, and samurai, even a few Wulin began to surround him and the other Highlanders that were still on the ship. Alistair looked at the knife in his body. As far as he could tell, it hadn't hit anything vital. He picked up his claymore and roared, lifting it upwards to the sky. "Dunmaglas!" he bellowed, his fellow warriors joining him in his war cry. They rolled over their attackers like a storm that hits the coast. Limbs and heads fell, blood colored the ground red. Alistair swung his claymore, cleaving through bodies, severing limbs and splitting heads. His cries bellowing over the place. Even though he was injured, he demanded the attention of the entire battlefield. Several of the attackers rushed towards him, a raider, a conqueror, and a shaman, the latter jumping at him with a demonic laugh, raising her axe to strike. He dodged, kicking her in the side and following up with a devastating strike to her neck. A fanatic grin still on her face, she fell to the ground, breathing her last. The raider and the conqueror were more cautious, stopping just out of his reach. Panting, he turned to face them. Raising his sword behind his back, he invited them in to strike, confident in his abilities. The conqueror rushed forward, preparing for a shield bash. Alistair raised his leg, causing the conqueror to try and dodge the kick. But he had miscalculated as the Highlander lowered his leg again, reaching with one of his massive arms to grab him around the neck and throw him to the ground. With a stomp of his foot, Alistair cracked the skull of the knight, deforming the helm in the process. Now facing the raider, he growled. The knife was still stuck in him, causing him pain. But he didn't want to pull it out, fearing blood loss. Seizing the opportunity of him being distracted, the raider rushed forward, striking at him with the bottom of a stone axe. Alistair raised his sword, blocking the strike. The Viking began hacking at him, swinging his axe in big circles, feinting strikes. Alistair had to admit that he was good. But there was a swing that didn't go as planned. Alistair brought his sword in position, parrying the heavy blow of the axe. He turned and delivered a cut to the raider's arm that would have been nasty if not for the leather protection the warrior wore. But he didn't stop there. Raising his leg again, he roared, "Thodim Blasiviter!" kicking the chest of his foe, sending the raider stumbling back and gasping for air. Alistair followed up, impaling his opponent and throwing him over his shoulder, sinking to a knee. He stayed like that, panting. The knife in his torso and the fighting took its toll. He fought for air, but had barely time to take a breath before more attackers came at him. Still on his knee, he tried to get up, to fight again, defeat them. He rose again, lifting his sword. In that moment, they all heard the deep sound of a horn. Rushing down from the nearby hill came a contingent of Chimera fighters. Having to redirect their efforts, the warriors of Holocaust turned to face their new adversaries. Alistair now lost his consciousness and sank to the ground. Everything else faded into darkness. He awoke on a bed in a small building, his head spinning. He tried to lift his head, only for his vision to fade to black. With a groan he put his head back in the pillow, just staring at the ceiling. He was left to his thoughts. They surely must have won. Otherwise he wouldn't lay in this bed, his wounds cleaned and bandaged. His vision blurred from time to time, his headaches switching between getting worse and better. The world faded in and out for him. He didn't know what time it was, but it was dark, as the frantic screaming of someone in the same room woke him up. After a few moments, figures dressed in Brown and black robes came rushing into the house, pushing the screamer on his bed, before giving him something to drink out of a wooden bowl. The screaming ceased into moaning, and then into light breathing. Alistair sat himself up, leaning against the wall behind his bed. A slight rustling of leather diverted his attention to his left. He turned his head and saw a woman in chain mail and leather armor. Her arms were crossed, and it looked like she was sleeping. A round shield, a spear, and a helmet with curled horns lay beside her. Helga? At the mention of her name, she lifted her head. She looked exhausted and sleepy, but she managed to show him a tired smile. Hey there. Decided to finally get back to the living? She began to joke, her voice still not being aware that she was awake. Alistair smiled. It takes more than a little knife to kill me. But how long was I gone? 3 days. Enough for me to get a message from this little battle and get over here. She leaned forward to put her face in her hands, trying to get herself awake totally. A strand of her red hair got loose. Alistair, I need to leave again today. Griffin made me the leader of a small contingent of warriors, and we are about to be assembled in a fortress in Ashfield by next week. For the wounded, they have a ship sail in 3 weeks to join the rest of Griffin's forces. He saw her tired and sad expression. What time is it then? He asked. Close to sunrise, so this likely is a goodbye, my friend. It got silent between them, until Helga stood up, grabbed her things, and got ready to leave. Alistair decided to follow her. He stood up, put on his shoes and a light wool shirt. Alistair, you need to stay in bed. I'm a Highlander, Helga. I don't need much recovery to be able to fight again. Where is my armor? He began to look around, found it, and put it on. His claymore on his shoulder, he stepped beside her. Ready to go? The war is awaiting us. To blood and glory, Helga. But aren't you supposed to meet up with a different group? I am, but we both have to sail to the mainland first. We can travel together, as long as our duty allowed it. Yes, I made an oath, but oaths don't bind a man's soul. So what do you say? Alistair, I am happy you want to join me, but good. Let's go. He stepped outside the small house. The first grey of the morning appeared at the horizon. He didn't know where it came from, but somewhere, far in the distance, he heard a bagpipe playing tunes of freedom.